Yeah, you're right.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. This is John with the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences, and this is our weekly live stream today on a special day because we have a very special guest with us, Grant Kirkhope.
Special. Da, 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 da.
And
I don't know if I'm special. I don't have a qualified special.
I think you're pretty special. I mean, as
Oh,
as we always, as people I'm sure has always introduced you, you have a very long resume of very classic games, and for anyone that doesn't know you for any reason at all, could you kind of give us a little bit of background on what you've done and who you are?
who I am, right? I'm Grant Kirkhope. I'm a composer. So I spent quite a few years of my early career at Rare Limited in the UK, and I did things like Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, Donkey Kong 64, GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, Viva Pinata, Grabbed by the Ghoulies, etc. On Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, of course. Did that. And then I went off to live in Baltimore and worked on Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning back then, did the music for that. And then I moved to LA, so I'm here now, sunny LA, a bit chilly, but sunny. And I'm freelancing now, so I'm just doing all the, what have I just done? I've just done Civilization that you're playing right now. Um, I'm doing Yooka-Laylee at the moment. I've got a few other things that I can't mention as always. Doing some stuff with William Pugh, the Stanley Parable man.
Mm,
Yeah, it's all jolling along.
very cool. And so, as we do every week, if you want to send any questions, feel free to tweet at us, to put it in the chat. We're going to ask as many questions as we can, as long as they're fairly logical and not too crazy. Uh,
Not rude.
or rude. And we have a lot of questions on Twitter as well. But I guess just to start off, one of the questions we gotten is what is one of your favorite pieces that you've created so far?
Well, I usually always say it's called Bedtime Story, and it's from Viva Pinata 2, Trouble in Paradise. That was a really kind of a sad, emotional piece that I wrote back then because I knew I was going to be leaving Rare at that point. It was a very sad time for me. I never thought I'd ever want to leave there. I loved that place so much. So, and it was the last session, the last piece in the orchestra session that the orchestra played piece. Actually had to go out and thank the orchestra for playing so beautifully, kind of thing, at the end of the thing. But I just burst into tears when I got onto the conducting podium thing. So yeah, I usually say bedtime story. That's my kind of favorite piece of my own.
That's interesting, and that kind of relates to another question that we got asked, which is, you talked about orchestral pieces, and obviously when you first started, you didn't have an orchestra at all. How much has the industry changed for you as you've worked in it for so long now?
Oh God, it's changed such a lot. I mean, and I think that the way I compose is the same. I don't do anything different. I just really just mess around until I think it sounds good, But the whole technology thing's changed a lot. Like the quality is different, and we can actually use proper samples at CD quality or greater, and use live players and live things and lots more memory space. All that kind of thing is so different. But I think my first job was converting Dave Wise's music from Donkey Kong Country 2 onto the Game Boy. So on the Game Boy, you had 3 channels and a noise channel.
Mm.
So you could play 3 notes and some noise. So the kind of noise did the drums, and the other 3 notes kind of did a bit of bass, harmony, and melody. And then we'd gone from that to writing for 120 pieces, I don't know, 100 orchestra, whatever it is. It's a pretty spectacular difference.
Yeah.
But I think that because I was classically trained, right, I didn't find that difficult. I'm not being flippant by saying that, but I think the orchestra thing, because I sat in orchestras for such a long time as a kid, and I went to university and sat in orchestras again until I was 22. I'd heard that sound a lot, even though I hadn't composed for it, or even knew I could compose for that matter.
Mm.
But so I knew the sound quite a lot. So I think when I had to write, because I still write stuff that isn't orchestral these days. I still write electronic stuff. I'm just doing something right now that's electronic.
Yeah.
So it was yeah, it was all right, and it was a great thing to be able to get to do. So I think, yeah, it's changed so much; it's unbelievable.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, you also were in a rock band, correct? Or you were also
Oh, I
dabbling
used to
in.
have my metal days. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, oh yes, that was the. I mean, when I was a kid, right, like, or even 22, even I never once. Well, not. I didn't even think till I was 33 I could compose. Right, I spent all my time after university and prior to that playing in metal bands or rock bands or whatever. That's
Mm.
all I ever did. I never got a job. I left college and just went to playing bands and make no money and be poor for
Oh,
a very long time. I spent like from 22 after university till 33, like playing in bands on and off on an employment benefit. Really, that's what I used to do. That's what I did all the time. And then it wasn't until Robin Beanland, my friend who I played in bands with in Yorkshire, got a job at Rare and said, you've been on unemployment for like 11 years. Don't you think you should try and get a job? And he said, why don't you just try to do what I'm doing? And that's why I tried to compose music. I had no idea I could do it. And I was really bad at harmony at college. I failed the exam umpteen times. So it's a bit peculiar. I ended up writing music when I was very bad at it. I'm probably still bad at it. All I wanted to do was play in Judas Priest, right? That was it. I wanted to be a guitar player in Judas Priest, and that was my dream forever. It still is.
Huh. You might still get the chance. You never know.
You never know. There's still a chance. Never say never.
Let's see what else we have here. What or who do you currently enjoy listening to?
Right, I'm really bad, right, at listening to new music. I listen to the same thing over and over again. I'm really boring like that. So I still listen to John Williams an awful lot, right? I think he's fantastic. And like, especially the first three Harry Potter soundtracks that he did. I think they're just like breathtakingly fantastic. And they're like my textbook. Like, I listen to those to learn, I still listen to metal stuff. I still listen to Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and Van Halen and all that stuff as well.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a bit of a, I don't listen to any pop music really. My daughter's 9, right? So I hear what she listens to. But a lot of time I listen to stuff for reference. Like, if I'm working on a game that they'll need me to write music in a certain style, and I'll say, look, to get the ball rolling, send me some YouTube clips or some MP3s or something that you think that is the kind of stuff that you want to hear. And so I spend a lot of time doing that for reference and understanding stuff. But for pleasure, I don't listen to music for pleasure as much as I'd like to probably. But it probably is Harry Potter. What can I say? Yeah.
So John Williams, I'm assuming John Williams is a big.
I like John Williams an awful lot. I used to like Danny Elfman. I used to listen to an awful lot too, but not so much these days. But the Williams stuff's like, because I think I do treat it as a textbook really. So listen to Hook by him or Harry Potter or Jurassic Park or Star Wars or anything, because I think that he's a really proper composer, if you like. He writes in that proper style.
Yeah.
Just proper counterpoint, proper harmony, all that stuff, all the ornamentation that he does. Like, it's really proper composing. So it's invaluable to someone like me to try and understand it. I do my best.
I see. An interesting question kind of related to that is, since we've been talking a lot about other medias with games, what's really different about composing music for games, do you think, than other mediums?
I think it's pretty close these days. I mean, I think that because the quality of music in games has just gone up, it's not that different really. I think you have to make other considerations in games about the interactivity. So you think about, I'm fighting now, or something's jumping out, or that kind of thing, and you can't, like in a movie or a TV thing, it's a very fixed linear thing. That at this point in time, the guy's going to shoot the gun or whatever, and it's never going to change. But in a game, it could change. So that's probably the biggest thing. And thinking about music that might have to loop, that's something else that I guess a lot of the other guys don't have to do. So it's, I think that interactivity, that's the hard bit, right? Getting that right. And I still don't think games are quite there yet. It's difficult. I think it was a lot easier back in the Banjo-Kazooie days because it was all MIDI and little crappy things, so it was easy to get that kind of thing to work. It's a lot harder with proper stereo streams and stuff. Although it is doable. I just don't think games are quite there yet. But I guess that's the main difference. But quality-wise, we're writing, the orchestral side of it is gigantic. It's just as big as any Hollywood score. No difference. It's the same as orchestra. Just listen to any pieces not by me, but by anybody, like the Blizzard guys or Jason Grace, Chris Velasco, Austin Wintory. It's all big orchestra stuff. It's no different. So I think the quality is just, well, not the quality. I don't think it's a difference like that. I think the difference is the kind of interactivity thing. That nature, the nature of that is that's the tricky part.
Another question also that we're getting asked on the Twitch stream, sorry. Well, 2 questions. One, did you listen to any of Sir Christopher Lee's metal music? Rest in peace, by the way.
So Christopher Lee, no, I didn't actually. No, I thought I should try to listen to that probably. I like Christopher Lee because I've been a Brit. He's a great Brit star. So I should probably listen to that.
Another question more related to what we were talking about before. How often do you play the games that you actually compose the music for?
Okay, it's actually got less and less as time's gone on, really. I think back in the day, like at Rare, like, I had to play the games all the way through all the time because I was the only person that was checking the audio. Nobody else was.
Yeah.
So if it went out and it was sounding rubbish, it was my fault. But as the games get bigger and bigger, and because the discs got bigger and the space got bigger, it got harder and harder to complete them. Like, so I think the last game I really completed was probably Grab by the Ghoulies, probably.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I got most of the way through Viva Pinata, but like Kings of Amalur, I don't think I got anywhere near to the end of that. I had to rely on testing guys to, because you got great big Q&A departments who are gonna, do that for you. But a lot of the time, they're not looking for audio problems, and they're not. That's not what they're about. Making sure the game doesn't break, or you can't fall through this wall, or fall through the floor, or complete the quest, and that kind of stuff. So they're not looking for audio problems. So we did, at Big Q's Games, we did have a couple of people that were kind of musically minded who did a lot of the kind of audio testing, and they would sit all day long on proper gear, proper headphones, testing stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do try to play as much as I can, but a lot of the time I'm just busy and I've got to write music, so I don't get through it. I have to rely on other people to do that. I've got a 13-year-old son who's addicted to games, so I just say, look, Max, you should play this a lot and let me know. And he does quite a lot of it, I think.
I see. I'm assuming with Civilization, you haven't delved very much into this game at all, very much?
Not really. I've just not had the time. I think with Civ, it was a bit different because they were very general in what they wanted. Like Will Miller and David McDonough, who are the lead guys on those games, just sort of said, Grant, we need you to write epic, hopeful music. And like, as a composer, it's like, hooray! It's a bit like that. So that was fantastic. I mean, and I knew Will from before and David from before. I worked for them. So that was like, and I knew I got the Ice Planet and I got the Desert Planet on the last Civ game.
Yeah.
So I kind of, it's not as specific as writing something for perhaps like Yooka-Laylee, where I really need to know what's going on with that. So I think there's different levels of stuff, like, because Civ's that kind of game, but Yooka-Laylee is very specific and needs to have certain bits for certain times and all that stuff, so yeah, a bit of all that, I think.
That's really interesting, though. So if I kind of expand on that a little bit, I guess the different processes for you getting information on how to make the music, has that changed very much as well, like in terms of what they tell you to make music for and how you make that music in your head?
Sometimes I think it's just, I think I've been through the whole thing. Like, it can work all different ways. You can get a lot of information from people, like lots of screenshots, and you can get a demo of the game and lots of documentation, so you can read through it all and get the gist of it. Or sometimes you get very little, and it's just like, we'd like a tune that goes with this, and that's it. I do think that any composer worth the salt should probably know. Well, if someone says I always use the example of, like, someone says to you, we've got a creepy ice forest.
Yeah.
You write some music for that. You can have a pretty good idea what you're going to do, I think, before you start. I think most composers will. Like, you're going to think about Celeste and, pizzicato strings and glockenspiel and spiky, instruments like that. And if it's a nice, warm forest, you're going to think about bassoons and clarinets and nice strings and, that kind of stuff. So I think that you do get a pretty good thing in your mind's eye, probably before you start. But there's always... I've only really had one I guess it's a bad example of working for somebody who didn't really know what they wanted. And that's the worst thing, because this kind of go, we'd like to write some music, we don't know what we want until we hear it. So that's when you kind of go, oh, this is going to be painful.
Yeah.
And you really could be writing that for the next 50 years, because, they don't know till they hear it. So that's just no good to me. So, you really need people to give you, at least point in that direction. Like, I always say YouTube clips, MP3s, a movie you like, just point me in the right direction, because I'll get the gist of it pretty quick. But I think the guys that kind of go, yeah, so that's some tunes, but we don't know what we want really, so just get on with it. That you just know it's going to be a disaster.
I see.
So I've only really had that once. Fingers crossed I won't get that too many times.
It's interesting. Now we're talking about you brought up Yooka-Laylee, the upcoming game. How has that been compared to all the other projects you've worked on? Is that your first Kickstarter game you've worked on? And
no, I did a bit for Hat in Time.
Yeah.
A little bit for them. But Yooka-Laylee, I guess that's special because it's all my old friends from Rare back in the old... So it's just the same team that did Banjo-Kazooie. Nothing different. It's all the same old old gits that were there before. It's great to do that again, and it's because we've got such a camaraderie, and it's just the same old jokes that hasn't changed for the last 18 years. Like it's almost as if Banjo-Tooie finished and Yooka-Laylee started straight after it. The kind of time in between hasn't happened because we're all old and got wives and kids now, but we're just as stupid as we were, you know. So all the kind of Nicky taking jokey stuff's not changed. We've all got the same nicknames we used to have. It's just like it's no time has elapsed at all. So it's special to do Yooka-Laylee, and I felt for a lot of years that there was room for another game like that because platformers had kind of died a little bit, and I really thought that because my Twitter just kept ballooning up in numbers, get a little bit, and I kept thinking there's a reason for this somehow. It can't be like me. It must be something else. So I think that knowing, I just felt like that there was a room for a game like that, and I think I'm so glad that at last it kind of got made, and it took a couple of things to happen to make it happen. Like some guys got laid off from Rare.
Yeah.
I think it's getting annoying. And some guys left Rare. But it just happened that it was the first time that all those people were available to do it. Like Steve Mails was the lead guy, did all the characters and animation, the Banjo-Kazooie. Chris Sutherland, who was the lead programmer, myself, Mark Stevenson, who was one of the head guys on DK, all that stuff, So to get all those people together, was pretty rare, and it just kind of happened. And then Gavin Price, he was also one of the head lead guys at Rare, decided to put it all together, and he really put his balls on the line and said, "I'm gonna put a company together. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get some backing, and we're gonna do it." And we're all like, "Right, let's go with it." But I guess not for 1 minute did we think that the Kickstarter would go so ridiculous like it did. I mean, we really honestly didn't think. We thought that kind of $270,000 that we're trying to get for the thing, right? We thought it might take a couple of weeks to get that.
Yeah.
That was got in like 40 minutes. It was just to end up at $3.25 million or something. It's just ludicrous, And at that point, I think we all got a little bit scared. It's like, oh my God, everyone really, really wants this game. We'll have to really, really do it, Well, not so much that, but it gives you a lot. It's a nice pressure. It's a nice responsibility to feel that people really want that game, and it's a real game made with complete love, like we used to do it back then. There's no publisher standing over our heads with a big stick saying get it out by this date, whether it's good or bad, we don't care. It has to be out. There's none of that.
Yeah.
It's going to be out when it's good, and that's it. Like in the early days at Rare, that's where we always used to do it. Tim and Chris used to say to Nintendo, "You're going to get it when it's done," and that's it. You're not having it before. And they used to scream and shout, but it didn't make any difference. It didn't matter. Like Banjo-Kazooie was miles late. GoldenEye was miles late. It was good. It was good because we took time to get it right. A lot of time these days you've got publishers who've got shareholders who want quarterly results and all that. So you've got to get the game out the door to make the cash.
Yeah.
And that's why you get games out the door now that come out that have got tons of bugs in them and need massive gigabyte fixes on day one and all that stuff. Because publishers have got a big stick saying get it out the door right now or you're all fired.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So,
that.
So I'm assuming you enjoy the Kickstarter model. You've enjoyed your experience with that, and
yeah, I mean, I think it's been really good. I mean, some people criticize it a little bit, kind of thing, and the big projects sometimes that don't make what they don't get there. I think you have to be careful to not overpromise. Like sometimes when you get a Kickstarter kicks off and you get a lot of money, people go, "Oh my God, we'll make it bigger and 18 more worlds and 15 more characters." You're just never going to do it. It'd be a big mistake. Pardon me, I was burping. Yooka-Laylee was like all the time. I know that I've been on a lot of projects where scope is the thing that kills the project. Like people overscope ridiculously, never get there, and the game comes out half-assed and not very good.
Yeah.
That happens a billion times in the games industry these days. It's constantly overscoping, and I think that's the biggest problem in games. It's not the people's ability to make it; it's the time you have to make the thing you promised. That's the problem. Even in AAA, it's just the same, no difference. So I think because us Yooka-Laylee guys are all really experienced, we've done it for like 20 years, all of us probably.
Yeah.
So we're all pretty experienced at that stuff. So we're pretty good at scoping and like working out what we really can do in the time allotted. So the extra goals for Yooka-Laylee weren't really extra worlds or extra this. It was more like we'll have an orchestra or do something that wasn't actually on the dev team. So the orchestra bit's me, right? That's my bit. I worry about that. Doesn't bother them. They just get on with the game, right? So it was important for us to make sure that we could do what we promised and not to overpromise. So I think that's a really important thing. So yeah, I think it'll be all right.
That's awesome. And how has the experience been so far for you? I don't know how much work you've done or how much thing you put into that.
Right. So far I've only really done the first world. which is that one that everyone's seen. And on IGN there was that thing. I kind of put the music up there, like the first. It's like, obviously we're doing the same thing as Banjo-Kazooie. We're getting a main theme plus like variations that the music will fade to as you wander around the area. So it works just like Banjo-Kazooie. So I did a little. I've done that thing, that main theme plus I think it's three or four variations.
Yeah.
Three, I think. So I've done that. So the next world is I better not say what the next world is. So I'm not started on that yet. I'm waiting to see it a bit more, but it just sounds really nice. So I'm really kind of. I was going to make a start and get on with it, and just like I do normally, but I thought no, this sounds special, so I'm going to wait and see it properly and have a little run around it. So I'm just about. I think I'll probably start that quite soon. Because I think they've got that going quite well now.
That's awesome.
It's pretty exciting, that is. I'm looking forward to that a lot.
That's really cool. Let's see, what else do we have? Since you've worked on a lot of brands, another question from our chat. Any brand that feels the most special to you, whether it's Donkey Kong or James Bond or Mickey Mouse, anything that stands out the most to you?
No, that's a good one. I mean, I think, the boring answer to say I've been really lucky and I do like all of it, and it's true, really. I mean, I've been really lucky to work on lots of good games. I think that I could easily have worked on lots of rubbish games, easily, So, Banjo-Kazooie is very special, I guess, because, I never knew that, like, 18 years later, I'll still be talking about it. I mean, people still talk about the music of Banjo-Kazooie these days. I can't believe it, really. I mean, when I wrote it back then, I just thought I did my best. You don't for 1 minute think that it's going to last all this time. I thought just give it 6 months and people forgot about it, I'll give it 6 weeks even these days. So for people to still talk about Banjo-Kazooie music it's incredible. And I never get tired of that. And if I'm going to be known as a Banjo-Kazooie guy until I die, well, fair enough. At least I'm known for something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also, I do feel a little bit of a attachment to GoldenEye. I mean, when I see the Bond movies come out, I sort of feel slightly involved, even though I'm not involved at all. It's just because I just think GoldenEye was my first proper game, really. So that was special. And like someone of my generation, the Bond movies were like, when I was a kid, the Bond movies were the biggest event of that year. They were like, that was always the biggest production and the best music and all that stuff. So I really find that all those films to be incredible, and I still love watching them. So I haven't seen Spectre yet, so I'm just dying to see it. But I've been really fortunate to work on some really great stuff. I really have, and I just can't complain. Even though I can't really. I shouldn't really. But those days at Rare were really special to me because the people were great. We had a great time together. It was great fun. The Stamper family were great. I loved Tim and Chris to death. And being part of that and them letting me in to do it in the first place. I was just a long-haired metal fan like Judas Priest, you know what I mean? And they gave me a job. I mean, that's pretty special. I had no prospects whatsoever. So I mean, that was really I can't put that into words. It's such a special thing. So no, I know it's a long answer, but the answer is probably I've liked everything I've worked on. I guess I've been so lucky.
That's awesome. Is there something you would like to work on, like a dream project or a property that you would love to, put a touch on? I believe.
I think that's a very easy answer.
Yeah, and Harry Potter.
There we go. That's what I think that'll answer that question. No, I mean, I want to write music for the Fantastic Beasts movie right now.
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling, David Heyman, hire me to do that music. If there's anything in the world I could write for, I would. To write something for that kind of J.K. Rowling universe would be my absolute dream, without a doubt. Like, I really think that I love writing that kind of magical music. It's right up my street, that is.
Yeah.
With a bit of quirk to it and a bit of quirky Britishness to it, like Harry Potter has. That would be my ultimate thing to write for. Would be something to do with Harry Potter, something to do with J.K.'s brain.
That's awesome.
That would be my ultimate thing.
Whether it be a game or a movie property, is that what you're saying?
Movie preferably.
Movie preferably.
Yeah, I would just love to, because I love those movies. Like, my wife is so sick of me watching Harry Potter. Like, when you turn the TV and it's halfway through, I have to watch it to the end. I can't turn it off. So she's sick of seeing Harry Potter in bits. And like, she said that I've ruined it for her. She said, you've ruined the entire thing. I can't watch it or hear it or even read the books anymore. You've just ruined it because you go on about it so much.
Well, she has to be ready for like you said, the next movie's coming out very soon.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, too right. So I really, really, really would love to do the chances are like zero, but that would be my dream. Yeah, a Harry Potter movie. Some Harry Potter connected movie would be my dream. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, we have a lot of random questions, so I hope you don't mind if we
No, of course not.
just bang it all down here. So here we go. Number one, do you do a voice in ukulele like in the old days with Mumbo?
I haven't yet, but who knows?
Next question. Banjo-Kazooie has many tracks with a banjo, so does ukulele have some ukulele tunes?
Not yet in my music, but who knows? I guess probably. I say I haven't done anything like that right now because I don't know. I really don't know what the rest of the levels are yet.
Yeah.
I guess it could possible. I think Dave Wise might be sticking some ukulele in, but I've got my ukulele, so I can do it.
That's awesome. Um, this is what you're very popular for, I know. Will you do another guest Grumps in the near future?
I get asked that a lot, right? And like, Aaron and John asked me on that show very graciously off them, kind of thing. And it was just such great fun to do. And I still talk to Aaron and John these days, but I think, I always say they don't need some old git like me on their show. They've got a fantastic show. They don't need someone to, they don't need me to go on there and do anything. Of course, I'd do it if they asked me, of course, because it's super fun, right?
Yeah.
But, they don't need me. They've got a massive brand that's worldwide renowned, and they're really funny and really good at it. They don't need an old git like me ruining it for them.
But we did love that episode quite a lot. So
I mean, honestly, that was, I always say, like, for those two guys to invite me on the show was really special, and I was really honoured that they asked me, and it was the best fun ever, and like we had such a good laugh,
Yeah.
And my only regret is that I swore probably a bit too much, because it's kind of starting to realise that my kids are old enough now to start to find that on the internet, because it always pops up on my name on the Google search. So some of my kids' friends, parents will go, "Oh, Mr. Kirkhope's there," and typed it in and listened to it for the first 5 seconds. And go, "Oh my God, turn it off!" So yes, so. No, it was fantastic fun to do, and it was really, really brilliant.
Awesome.
What can I say?
Very cool. Let's see. What kind of composing is the most, or what part of composing is the most enjoyable? And do you still play your guitar?
You know what? I don't play guitar hardly at all these days, and it's really sad when I think that I spent, every waking minute playing guitar for such a long time. That was from like 12 until 33. I really literally didn't, that was my thing. I did it all the time.
Yeah.
And now I don't play it at all. I've got 2 great guitars. I've got a Zackward Les Paul Gibson. I've got like an Edible Music Man that Eddie Van Halen actually gave me.
Oh, wow.
We toured with them and he gave me a guitar.
Yeah.
I sat under the bed gathering dust. It's ridiculous, So I don't know why I don't do that. Composing wise, the bit I like the best is writing it, right? The bit I like is writing the chords and the melody and getting it on all that arranging stuff. The polishing part, that's not my bit. I'm not good at that. I haven't got the interest in it. I talk fast, I do everything faster. I want to be able to the next. I can't be bothered to wait and polish it. I want to get on with the next thing.
Yeah.
So like writing the melody, getting it all going, that's my favorite bit. But when it comes to going over it and mixing it and polishing it, that's the bit I don't enjoy that.
Got it. And this is a silly question, but how far will you read this until you realize it's just a big thank you disguised as a question? So obviously you have a lot of fans here, all watching here. So just
that's very kind of him to say so.
Let's see our next question. What piece of music that you've created best describes you as a person?
Oh, that's a good one. Something very miserable.
Oh no.
I know. I do come across as a jolly chap, but I'm not really. I'm miserable. My wife will tell you I'm miserable most of the time. What describes me best? Something dark. I don't know. I have this kind of. I'm a bit of a softie inside, right? So I like all that lovely, tuneful, nice stuff, really. But I guess on the outside, I come across as something not really like that. So that's a hard one. I just can't think. I guess Viva Pinata probably like in general is like me, really. That kind of. I have that kind of. I spend most of my time living in a fantasy world that doesn't exist. So in my head all the time, it's beautiful and nice and lots of nice tunes and magical and all that. I'm a bit like that, really, and that's how my head is inside. But outside, I'm not like that at all. But I think my inner Grant Kirkhope self is that magical, fantastical thing that I just like to live in. But it's not real.
Let's see. Our next question is 2 parts. One is how much nog do you drink in a day, and 2 is let's start with that. How much nog do you drink in a day?
Well, I would like to drink nog a lot more than I do. I love eggnog, and I just buy the cheapest one with the most alcohol in it. It's that Pennsylvania massive litre bottle thing. I just always buy it's cheap and got tons of alcohol in it, so I buy that. And I just look. It's something about December and Nog is just perfect.
Uh-huh.
But like, I don't think it's particularly good for me. Like, sure, at my age, cholesterol-wise, it's not great because it's got tons of cream in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to limit it to a couple of large ones of an evening. Yeah, I'd probably drink more than that, I think, if I didn't think it was so bad for me.
Yeah. And then the second part of the question is, if Nintendo asked you to make an updated version of the DK rap, what would you change to it?
It's perfection. I don't know. I mean, like, when I did that thing back then, I just thought it was a bit of fun.
Yeah.
And everyone hated it. And then everyone's just like it again now. And it's, the thing is, it's funny and it sounds cheesy. And it was supposed to be funny and cheesy, really. So I don't think I'd change it. I guess, you can make it sound really proper quality and super, super great. But I don't think that would make it any better. I think it's probably better that it's bad than making it any good. I think I'll leave it as it is.
I'm curious, like, what instructions were you given when you were writing that? Were you just given write a rap and then it's about Donkey Kong and just go for it?
It was just me and George. George Andreas was the lead guy on DK64. George worked on Banjo-Kazooie and then got given his own team because he was a good designer. And so he did that. And he said, look, I can't remember who had the idea, but it was based on on the Super NES version of Donkey Kong. It starts off like with the old tune, then goes into Dave Wise's new tune to kind of show the game's come, it's progressed in its kind of years. So that was the idea, to change it from old DK to new DK. And at the time in the 90s, I guess rap was the thing, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, yes, let's do that. It'd be great, wouldn't it? So George wrote these lyrics and said, right, here's the lyrics, off you go. And I think he was thinking of a very fast-paced thing. He didn't really he just said, here's the lyrics, and I went to do the music, right? I didn't think about it. And I've not a clue about rap music at all. I'm a metal fan, right? I haven't got a clue. So like, I just went to the first drum preset I'd found on the JV1080, just played that and went, that's it, that'll be fine. Just looped that a million times and just messed around with it, really, with his lyrics. And like, but I think there's a track it's Jason Nevins and Run DMC. It's Like That, That's the Way It Is.
Yeah.
So Jason Nevins remixed a Run DMC track. It's quite a fast-paced track. I think George had that kind of thing in mind, but I didn't know that at the time. So I kind of wrote this slow, thing that I did.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh yeah, so no, it'd be great, don't worry. So he rapped on it, and Chris Sutherland, the lead programmer from Banjo, they were the two rappers. And also for the chorus, I got in most of the Banjo-Kazooie team, like Greg Mills, Steve Mills, Chris Peel, Ed Bryan. They were the guys that shouted DK Donkey Kong in the chorus. Sorry, I just spat on my screen. So yeah, that was it really. And I just thought, I'd put in like, funny things in the verses, like, trombones and timpanis, and, thinking everyone would think it's hilarious. And of course, no one did. So that was a bit of a bummer. But it's weird. Honestly, it's so weird now that everyone likes it now. And I've had to wait 18 years, but I'm glad someone likes it eventually. I was watching that Australian Smash Brothers, stream thing, the tournament stream, and the whole room started singing the DK rap. And one guy started shouting it, and I was amazed that the whole room knew the words and they all did it. And like, I've got to say, it brought me to tears. It really brought me to tears. It's like, God Almighty, here we are. 18 years later, there's a bunch of guys in Australia, watching Smash Brothers brawl, when DK, and they all start singing the DK out. It was just the most best thing in the world ever.
That's awesome.
So I'm very grateful that I did it now, but at the time, probably not.
I mean, talking about this, a lot of people in chat would love to have a Yooka-Laylee rap, apparently.
Well, that's the plan. The plan is to do the GK rap.
Yeah, exactly.
Yooka-Laylee. I mean, honestly, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with it. I've talked to friends of mine like Danny Baranowski to say maybe I should get some help with it, because I'm really so bad at it. It's probably going to be even worse than the DK rap, if that's possible. So I'm going to I'm doing one. Rest assured that there will be a GK rap in Yooka-Laylee. How bad it'll be is anyone's guess. But I'll do my best. That's all I can say.
That's awesome.
But expect it to be, severely bad.
That's all we just expect the best.
Yeah, well, the best is not what you're going to get out of that one, I'm sure.
Oh. Another question. There's more DK rap questions. Hold on, I think we're gonna pass on from the DK rap section. Let's see. Do you remember how you made the really chromatic section of Gloomy Galleon from DK64?
Oh God, how does that go? I can't remember.
Yeah, that's a very specific question.
That's gonna say it's like well, that tune was originally in Dream, actually. It was I think it was Black Eyes theme in Dream. and I just stuck it in DK because Dream got cancelled.
Yeah.
I can't remember the chromatic section, but any music I write, honestly, I'm not a really very eloquent composer. Like I just if that's the correct terminology,
Yeah.
I just kind of sit around and just mess around until I hear something that I like. I'm not really that structured, so I'll just mess around with a chord sequence or a melody until I hear something that I like. And I have funny little things in my head that say that's a good bit, right? And it's a bit like that.
Yeah.
And I always kind of describe it that way. Like I have little things in music interest me. I guess it's really hard for me to describe how I think about it, right? Because I don't think it's easy.
Yeah.
So an example I kind of give is like if I was using C major and A flat major as a couple of chords, I'd be interested in the E and the E flat. I don't know why. It's that's the part of that thing that interests me most. So that would spark something off for me, doing something. I know it sounds a bit daft. It probably is, but that's just the way my head sees it.
I guess an interesting question in relation. There's two questions I'm thinking of. One is, for anyone that wants to be a game composer or work in the game industry and the music part of it, what would you suggest or what tips would you give?
First off, it's really hard, and don't if you're going to do it, it's not something you can take on lightly. It's difficult, right? When I started, it's way different to people now. First off, you need to be really good, right? You need to be a really good composer. Write some good music. That is a given, right? I think these days. Without that is like the least part of the equation. The next part is the hard part, which is like getting a gig, like meeting people. The networking part, I'd say, is probably more important than the actual writing the music part.
Yeah.
Like it's expected that you're good, right? So you need to do all the conventions, all that stuff. Go meet the indie guys that are showing you indie games. Say, I'll write music for you. There's a ton of indie guys out there right now, making games that need tunes. You know what I mean? That's the great thing about these days, I think, that there is that opportunity. You have to find a way to get yourself some notoriety. And I don't know how to do it. I really don't. I think that's the only thing, right? And, I always use Danny Baranowski as an example, right? Danny Baranowski is like a good friend of mine. He did Meat Boy and Isaac and all those great games, and Crypto the Necrodancer. And we're good friends, me and Danny. We met a while ago. We've been mates forever. We did Desktop Dungeons together. And he was just a guy that worked in Lowe's and Home Depot and all that stuff and dreamed of being a composer. And he used to go home at night and work on music and really work really hard. And just, and his big thing was getting a single track, a remix of a Perfect Dark track onto OC Remix. That was his big thing. He couldn't believe he did it, right? He tried for a long time to do that. And then the guy that did Cannibal heard it, contacted him and said, "Oh, would you write music for my game?" Off he went, wrote music for Cannibal. Then he got Meat Boy, then he got Isaac, then he got, all that stuff. So, Danny's just someone that wouldn't take no for an answer, right? He just wouldn't give up on it. And I think it's a combination of all that stuff. But, being a no illusion, it's bloody difficult. There's a ton of people that break through and do great stuff. A ton of people that don't. Just being a good composer just isn't enough. Like I'm trying to do movie stuff, right? And like, there's a billion great composers out there. And like, try to get through the wall to get to the person you need to get to is like, it's almost impossible. They should bump into them in like Vons accidentally, by the band of Tomatoes. You know what I mean? Like, that selling yourself thing is tremendously difficult.
Yeah.
So you just, as I say, I think half the battle is being good, right? And that's almost like a given. Like 50% of it is like you can compose fair enough because you get to a certain level, everyone's good, right? Everyone that I know that's composed is great. Everybody, way better than me. I think. God Almighty, these guys are so astonished. And what can I do? But the networking thing is massive. That's the biggest thing. Like I've been doing it for 20 years probably. Well, it is 20 years nearly to the day, I suppose. What date is it? December, yeah, just about 20 years it is, literally. So I started in 95. So like, so I have bumped into people over the years that might not be anything at the time, but then 4 years later bring me up and say, "Do you want to write some music for the game?" And in some respects, people that I work for or company that I work for, when they go bust, it's better because everyone in the company goes to all four corners of the earth, and you got fingers and lots of pies, and they all recommend you, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a bit of that as well. I've got a little fridge magnet I stick above my desk when I write music. It's from Winston Churchill in the Second World War. It just says never, never, never give up. And I just think that's the only way.
That's
It's the
awesome.
guys and even then you're not guaranteed, but it's the guy, because the easy thing to do, right, is to go, this is too hard, I'm just not doing it. That's the easy thing to do. The hard thing to do is to keep going.
Yeah.
I contemplate giving up every day, and I'm serious. I really do. Because I think it can cause you so much heartache. It's one of those things that I call it the curse of aspiration. Like, you're never satisfied ever. Like, I remember when I played in Little Angels in the UK, little rock band, and we played Wembley Stadium supporting Brad Adams to 77,000 people.
Yeah.
Wembley Stadium is the biggest gig at the time, was the most prestigious gig in the UK. To play that was like astonishing. And we got there and we all went, oh my God, right, what's next? It's like that. It's the next ledge is above. It's like, well, we can place. What's next? The next ledge is always there. And I think that kind of curse of aspiration it can ruin your life. It could just make you never ever satisfied or happy ever.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to be prepared to take that on, because I think if you ever think you've got to the place you need to be, you should probably give up, because I think you can never be happy, but you have to strive for the next thing. I just think I don't want to get really, really depressing or anything, but I think it's a very hard thing. And I think that any creative person will know what I'm talking about. It's never a point. You always think you're going to get to something and go, oh yeah, that's it, I'm so happy. But then immediately you get there's something else above that. You want to do that instead.
Yeah.
I just think I wish I could shut it off sometimes, because it can drive you absolutely insane. No wonder we're all so bloody depressed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just say, if you're going to take it on, you have to give it every ounce of your being, because it will take that to do something.
Yeah, it's the creative conundrum, right? Where
yeah,
exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah. Just a couple more questions. Let's see what we have here. One was a big question. You have a signature sound that anyone who hears can instantly tell that's Grant. Are there any other game composers that have that signature sound that you like? When you hear it, you say, that's Blink? It's an interesting question. I don't know if you can answer it well.
Like,
but, yeah.
First part of it, like, if I've got a signature sound, I'm very happy that I have. But that isn't by design. That's just by fluke. I think like when you listen to Brian May play the guitar out of Queen, right? It's him because he just plays a certain way. You can always pick out the way he plays. 'Cause I'm a guitar player, right? And like the vibrato, the sound he uses, the way he plays it all. It's just, you can tell it's Brian. Or like Eddie Van Halen, you can tell it's him a million miles away, right? So sometimes it's just the way it comes out. And I think that when I write music, it just, like I say, I've got this little magical thing in my head going on all the time. So I just write the same thing all the time. I was just saying 3 chords forever. Never changes. That's probably why people recognize it, because I can't write anything else. So it's nice to think that people recognize my style. But I do think that sometimes it's called that kind of tritone thing that I do an awful lot. People think that's mine. It isn't mine. That's been done for hundreds of years before me. I just nicked it from somebody else, and someone printed it for me and do it. It's not like I invented it by any means. I just think I was on a reasonably high profile game that sounded like that, and therefore people think that's my idea. It wasn't really. I just heard it somewhere else, and thought that's a good idea. So that's that part. Second part, people that I recognise. I mean, games-wise, I don't listen to enough games to know that, right? And I do think that, and in movies too, it's got very generic. Like, the big epic thing that happens in movies and games is very similar. And I think that it's that very similar sounding movie sound that we all hear a billion times. It's very big and epic, but it's very unremarkable, and we can't remember it. So, going to the movie theater these days or picking up a game, lots of times it's very big, impressive music, but you don't remember a note of it. That's my issue that I don't like about it. I think that if I've got a signature sound, like, I do strive to try write a tune that people can remember. Yeah. That's what I try to do. And I always think that, the reason that Lady Gaga is #1 at some point in time is probably because she's written a good tune that you can all whistle down the street, right? You don't hear too many ambient epic tracks at #1, or because you can't remember the tune.
Yeah.
It don't work like that. So even though, a lot of times in composing you get told that we don't want any melody, it needs to be in the background. Even though you hear that a billion times, I just kind of think that's just wrong, right? People want to remember a bit of any media, TV, game, whatever, movie, because there's a certain tune at a certain point that adds to it. So that scene where Darth Vader walks in, you hear da 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 da. Right, that you remember that forever, right? Forever.
Yeah.
The first time you hear da 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 da, you know, you're never going to forget that, right?
Yeah.
Because it associates you with Harry Potter and a part of the movie that you really enjoyed, or whatever, or a really sad piece, or that's really fantastic, right? And I think that throwing that away is wrong. I don't like that. I do it because I have to sometimes, but I think that's wrong. So moving games and stuff, and I don't remember an awful lot of it right now. I remember John Williams a lot because he's so identifiable. But other stuff, I don't think so. And I mean, you know, honestly, I don't play enough games really to be able to pick out anybody's particular style.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, I think I would know Danny Baranowski because I know Danny well. I think Danny's got I think he's got a style you can recognise. I can't describe it, but I know what it sounds like.
Yeah.
You know, I think that like Jake Kaufman, you know, I know that he writes great stuff. I think he's identifiable.
Yeah.
But I think that music these days has become a little bit too generic, and I think people don't get that. It may not be the composer's fault. It may be the person that's directing them that's not wanting it. People are getting the chance to make something that's rememberable. That's not a very good word. Memorable. So, you know, me doing Banjo-Kazooie back then and all that stuff, it just bleeds through the rest of the stuff that I write. Therefore, people can maybe recognise it because I had the chance to do it.
Yeah.
I think people these days probably don't get the chance to be recognisable. There's too much of that. I don't mind big epic music, right? I think it's great. But for me, you need to remember something about it. Like, when I think of the superhero themes of the last, I don't know how many years, the ones I remember of Superman by John Williams, Batman by Danny Elfman. I remember that one. I remember Spider-Man by Danny Elfman. I remember how that goes. I remember Alan Silvestri's Avengers because I remember that's a very identifiable riff he's got in that. You know, but I'm hard pushed to remember any other ones. You know, I can't remember any of the other ones really. X-Men's changed a lot. I can remember Henry Jackman's X-Men First Class thing. I can remember Brian Tyler's Now You See Me. I think it's a really good tune. I remember that a lot. But, like, you know, I'm hard pushed to remember much more than that. So that to me doesn't seem right. I'm probably babbling on here. I'm sorry.
No, not at all.
Yeah, but like, you know, so I just wish that. I think tons of directors and people are frightened. They're scared to break the mold, or they're scared of stepping out of the line, or getting fired, or it being going wrong, and all that stuff. And I think that's just killing music. I think. You know, I've heard from music composers, they're getting told, I don't want any melody, I don't want it, it detracts from the scene. And I feel like saying, you know, if your scene's so weak that a tune's going to detract from it, you should write a better bloody scene.
Yeah.
You know, it seems to me that music should be there to enhance it, you know. Can you imagine Star Wars without all those tunes in it? All the stuff that you recognise, it would be the same, would it? Can you imagine Star Wars with some kind of, you know, generic electronic hybrid orchestra synth track going on with it? It'd be crap, right? You know, Indiana Jones without that melody would be, you know, I know it's older movies, I guess, and maybe people's tastes have changed. But I still believe in my heart that people still want to hear a tune. And like in games generally, I think it's, you know, people love that, the Nintendo catchiness of everything. They love that. People love those composers to death, and Yumatsu and all those people that, you know, they love that stuff because it's so tuneful. Yeah. So I'm just having a rant. But yes, there we go. That's the long answer to whatever it was.
No worries. A couple more questions. I don't want to take up too much more of your time here. Let's see. What was it like working on GoldenEye? Something a little lighter, question-wise.
That was marvelous.
Yeah.
Like, you know, for me to be, obviously I just got to Rare at that point. Graham Norgate, who was doing Blastcore and GoldenEye, I was getting really busy with Blastcore, said, you know, do you want to take over doing GoldenEye for a while? And I was like, are you joking? You know, fantastic to get to use that Bond theme a gazillion times in a gazillion different styles as best I could was just like the best thing in the world, right? You know, as I said, yeah, Bond movies were a big deal to me when I was a kid. So, you know, I listened to all the pop songs. I mean, I had the full double album thing that had every pop song you know, that preceded the movie to that point.
Yeah.
So there's the Shirley Bassey and Duran Duran and all those great tunes, you know, all that stuff. And like, you know, just, you know, John Barry is such a fantastic composer. And John Barry, you know, the reason Bond sounds the way it does is because of John Barry. Even though the main theme is credited to what's his name? Forgot his name already. Can't remember. The guy that went ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Him, right? I know it's a Bond theme, right? But John Barry is the guy that made Bond Bond. The fact that God, I can't remember his name. That's ridiculous. It feels like getting old, doesn't it? What's his bloody name? Oh, God, it'll come to me in a minute. But yeah, so I mean, John Barry is another guy that has a really identifiable style. Like the way he writes music is just, it's him, right? All those big long chords he just hold for the same chord forever, and change something here and there, and like just spectacularly good. And he gave Bond that absolute, that mood, that style. It's all over it, right? And Bond is Bond because of John Barry, I think. So for me to get a chance at doing something like that was just like, oh my God, I'm really going to get to have a go at a Bond game, and it was, we got to use a Bond theme. Monty Norman's the guy that wrote the tune. Like you can, in that Monty Norman tune, when it goes to ding, 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 that bit, right, into the da 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 da, which is obviously John Barry. You can tell that Monty Norman wrote the first bit, and John Barry obviously took it from that point where, right, you've done your little bit. This is the big blasty bit at the end. And they went to court over it, and Monty Norman would never give in. He would never admit that John Barry had anything to do with it, which I think is pretty sad. And John Barry's died now. So that's pretty bad. But I guess that little ding, 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 ding has been Monty Norman's money for the last 40, I don't know, 50 years. I don't know. He must have made a fortune out of it. But yeah, sorry, I'm waffling again. But yeah, I love doing GoldenEye. I just kept thinking of different ways to do it, like to try and add bits into it that I thought might sound good, and to use the little melody of it and all that. It was just tremendous fun. And I didn't get to finish it because I got dragged off to do Dream. Like, I guess I started around 95, and I was still doing GoldenEye maybe somewhere into the year after that, and then I got dragged off to start doing Dream, so I didn't finish it, and Graham came back and finished it off.
I see.
But yeah, for God's sake, to get to do anything James Bond is like spectacular. I think after Harry Potter, James Bond's second.
That's awesome. The next James Bond movie.
Yes, either will do, actually. Yes, thank you very much. That'll be fine. Yes.
There you go. 2 more questions. Do you compose games only that you like, or how do you decide?
I know I've said it before, but I've been really lucky. Like the games that I've been asked to do, and still getting asked to do at the moment, are games that I really like. I just haven't had something that I've really not liked to do it. When I did Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z, I guess that wasn't probably something that I really liked very much, and didn't think it was very good. And it sold awfully, so I guess it was right. But I didn't mind doing the music because I did an electronic soundtrack for that. I've done that for a while, so it's good to do that again. But apart from that, I've been really lucky that I've liked the things that I've done. I've all thought, the Yooka-Laylee's great, Civilization's great, to do that. The ones I've got lined up for next year that I'm working on right now are I think are going to be really great. I just wish I could tell you about them. So I've been lucky, I haven't had to go, I don't really like. I think if there's something that I really didn't like at all, I probably just wouldn't do it. I don't think I'd feel like I was cheating the person that was hiring me, paying me the money to write something I didn't really like. I think, I didn't like the guy. I think I just say, look, I'm the wrong man for this job. Like if someone asked me to do an EDM soundtrack, I'd probably say, A, I can't do it because I just don't understand it. And B, find somebody else, in a nice way. But I think I've been lucky so far.
That's awesome. Let's see. Just an aside, Grant, why don't you ask Warner Brothers Games whether they'd like to make a Harry Potter game collection and all the books, movies from 1 through 7 and hire you as a composer?
Yes, I'm quite happy to do that. Yes, sign me up for that. I'll just do that to the rest of my life, and just till I die. I'll be happy doing Harry Potter forever. I'll never get tired of it. So yes, I'll do that. Just book me in.
That's awesome. And Grant, have you played through Link Between Worlds, considering that Link to the Past is your favorite game?
I haven't. Link to the Past is my all-time favorite game. It always will be. You know what? I didn't really like it. After it went from 2D to 3D, I didn't like it as much. I know that's like sacrilege. Yeah. But I just liked that game on the SNES so much, and I played it a gazillion times. Yeah. And I don't know. That game has such fond memories for me. I don't know why. I thought the music was fantastic in that game. I could hum it over and over again. Yeah. I remember watching Koji Kondo at the Games Awards in Las Vegas last year, and he got up and played it on the piano, the Zelda theme. Yes. I was nearly in tears. I was a bit drunk at the time, actually. I was nearly in tears watching it, going, "Oh God, it was just fantastic, right?" I think that Yeah, I've never not been as keen as Zelda since. I probably need to play it a bit more. I'm not at the time. What's the one on the DS? My son played that one. I watched that quite a lot. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
But when you hear that music on that game, um, it makes me like it anyway because the music's so fantastic.
Mm.
So I think that I should probably do that a bit more. I mean, there's a new game due out soon, isn't there? There's one due out. Is it?
I think next year actually, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it must be for the Wii U still.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So my son's got that, so I guess we'll get that and I'll play it. Um, but yeah, I've not played it much as I want to. I've not played games as much as I have to wanted to really at all. Just 'cause I'm so busy. It's
Yeah.
hard because you gotta write music all day, and then the kids come home from school, and then it's homework, and then it's some more work, and then before you know it's bed, and that's it. So
Understandable.
I should play more than I do.
No, no worries. And I guess as my final question is just what would you like to say to all your fans that, really do respect your work and this Twitch chat has just been they love everything you've been saying. Anything you'd like to say to them?
You know what? I don't like to think of myself as someone that's got fans. I don't like the ego thing really, and I think that's all. It all gets tied up in that.
Mm.
So for people to like my music, like it's just like for one person to like my music is fantastic, right? I think for any artist of any persuasion, photographer, writer, you name it, for you to make something out of your brain that somebody else really likes and gets is like just the most amazing thing ever. So the fact that people like what I write is just I never get used to that ever. It's still one of the things I never get used to. So I don't like the fan thing. But I do like just having lots of friends. I like it like that. So I've got 4,000 Twitter, whatever, and I'll get drunk at night and sit and tweet to them all, and we'll have a bit of a laugh, and all that, and they'll insult me, and I'll insult. It'd be funny, and that's a bit that I like. I like doing that because I kind of feel that I'm not special. I'm just someone that writes a couple of tunes, right? Nothing special. I'm just an ordinary bloke, right? I'm pretty boring most of the time, well, all of the time, So I just like to have lots of all these people that like my music. I just think they're my friends of mine. That's what I think.
That's awesome. Well, Grant, from all of your friends and from the Academy, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a very enlightening and great interview, so thank you so much for your time.
But it's been a pleasure, sir. Thank you for asking me to want to talk to me in the first place. I'm very grateful.
Oh, no worries. And so if you want to catch this interview again, this will be archived on YouTube. We'll tweet it out. We'll tweet it to Grant so he has it if he wants to spread it to, his friends.
I'll spread it on to my friends.
Very cool. And again, thank you guys all for watching. And again, thank you, Grant. So until next time.
Okay, I'll say goodbye.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.